Okay, so today we have the privilege to meet Dr. Mrs. Regina, and I will let her introduce herself for all of us to hear. Madam, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Hannah. Regina Mwakusachi, a transport geographer with the Department of Geography and Regional Planning. I'm also the head of the department, so that's it.
You're right. So Madam, let's start from growing up. Where did you grow up, and how was life? Was it rough or smooth?
That's something. Okay, so I was born and raised in Accra. My parents had migrated there from the Western region, so I was born there and raised, and I did most of my schooling there. And growing up was exciting, of course. You interacted with a lot of people. So when I was born, I lived in a compound house, and so interacting with other children, and interacting with other families, and all that was an exciting time for me. And then later we moved places and stayed in Bangalore. So where things were a bit more restricted than probably in the compound house and all that. But then it was a lovely time growing with my parents, and then I have three other siblings, and we grew up together. We had our own challenges like any other would do. But then it coming through, so after primary school through, and then also my secondary school, I ended up in Cape Coast um, uh, Agri Memorial Secondary School. That's where I schooled. And then later on, I came to the University of Cape Coast for my first degree, did my second degree here for national service. I wasn't here. I left. I went to Jaboso Secondary School where I taught for a year, and then came back to do my master's degree. And then later on was appointed a lecturer at the Department of Geography and Regional Planning. But I must say that first I started as a principal research assistant, and then to a lecturer, and then I enrolled on my PhD, became a senior lecturer, and then eventually I rose to become the head of department. So that's it for my schooling.
So, did you ever think of being a lecturer when you were young?
I don't think so. For whatever I wanted to be, it's changed over the years. And that's one thing. When you're growing, you grow with childhood fantasies and things that you want to be. Today, you want to be a doctor. The next day, you want to be an engineer like my father. So basically, that is it. But then I never thought I would end up teaching. Not at all. That wasn't one of my plans. But eventually I got to come here. So if I want to share something, then probably what I would want to share is how I ended up here. I think it's very good for people to know that, and I maybe can go a long way to help another person. So after my first degree, I really wanted to go into marine transportation, and that was my aim. I went into, I think, MESC. MESC had an interview. I qualified. I went to take the aptitude test. I qualified, so I was called for the second round of it. Unfortunately, I had gone to Jaboso Secondary School to do my service there. And those were the days when mobile phones were they were very few in the system. And actually, even in Jaboso, you didn't even have network there and all that. But then I will go back to how I decided to go to Jaboso Secondary School in the first place. Sometimes we are given postings and we want to dodge. And I had told God that wherever you're going to take me, I'm going to go. All I want is that at the end of the day, when I have to leave there, you make a way for me to leave. And that was what I believed in. So after everything, I was posted to Jaboso, and I remember that some family members were not very comfortable. One cousin of mine actually went out of her way to go and change my posting without letting me know. It was after that she said that she had changed and I had been placed at the, I think, Ministry of Energy and all that. I told her, you better go and change it back, because I know what covenant I had entered in with God, and so I'm going wherever He's sending me to, because I believe wherever I am, I have to impact life. So I made her change it. I went back to Draboso Secondary School. And someone will say that I lost my opportunity with MES, because MES kept calling my mom, and my mom kept trying to get in touch with me. But the at that time, the phones in Draboso, they were landlines, and they had to be plugged in for whatever reason. And for most parts of the day, there wouldn't even be light in the entire town. So then there was no way my mom could reach me until after the interview. So I lost that opportunity, but I trusted in God that whatever He said, He is faithful. So, to cut a long story short, we came to Takrady because the school had to compete for some sporting events. And when I got to Takrady, a friend of mine got in touch and said that the results are in for the graduating class, but I saw that your name is not on the graduating list because there was a problem. So just come back to UCC and rectify it. So I came back to UCC to do the rectification, because apparently it was one course that I didn't register for but did in first year. And I met a colleague of mine, another colleague, who said, Regina, why don't you buy forms? Come and let's read transport geography. And I'm like, okay, that would be a good substitute, because I want to go into transportation. And so that would be good to come back. But so I bought the forms, and that was the first money that I had made from my national service. I had put it together, and that was what I used to buy my forms. So I bought my forms, and then I was called for the interview. I came down for the interview, and that ended my story of coming back to UCC and being in the academia. This is it. I got so I want you to know that God has a plan and a purpose for everyone. Sometimes we dodge things. We think that we should always be at places where we will be comfortable. I can say for a fact that the experiences that I had in that village, it was then a village, purely a village, though it was a district capital, it was a village. It was a Drabusu Bia district, and it was a village. But then whatever experiences I had is what I am using today in my life. So go out there and explore. There's a huge world out there which might not be so, or you might not be so familiar with, or might not mimic what you are used to. I was a city girl, born in Accra, raised in Accra, but I had to taste the life in the village, and it's inspired me on. And God made sure that He brought me to an expected end. So I want to encourage people of all walks of life, whoever would come across this video, please, whatever path God has laid for you, just move on it. He has a way of providing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam.